Alright, so I got a bearing on the right side. I think that's shot again. Goddamn fucking Ford and their axles. So I got this thing up on the jack, supported by stands and the jack. Both sides off the floor. Let's see if we can hear it. Well, it's only gonna do it when you're taking turns. It started getting worse. So anyway, you gotta get that puppy off and get the carrier bolt out, or whatever it's called, the pin, which is held in by a little screw pin that hopefully they didn't lock tight right in. Hopefully it doesn't strip when I go to take it out. And then these axles will pull out when you pull out the big pin. Alright, so I gotta get these off. And maybe once I get this off, I'll be able to see if that axle's moving up and down. Alright, so I got the tire off. Now next step is to get that brake off. I have to do this on both sides because you probably want to clean it. There's a bolt and the bolt down there. But before I do that, let's do a little listen. Can you hear that? I believe that's the bearing. Actually, I think I hear a scraping. Now, in and out, I believe is normal, but don't believe that's normal. Alright, back with the gloves. Alright, the one thing that I totally forgot about is, you see how this rotor don't want to come off, is the park and brake. So I gotta loosen the park and brake, and that always sucks. So you gotta pull out your rubber boot. Hopefully there's one in there. And it's the hole for it is right there. I don't know if you can see that. Right there. So we gotta get in there, and I don't remember which direction to loosen that, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so we can listen to this. Now, that's not this. That's this, up and down. I have to assume that's the bearing. Alright. I don't know, maybe that noise is normal? Because this side's doing it too. It's possible the bearing on this side is shot too. I mean, you could physically see that's moving. If this phone stops bouncing around. Let's see this side. Actually, it seems like the other side is moving more than this side. But listen to those bearings. Yeah, those bearings got to be shot on this side. That's no good. Man, I'm like proving myself an idiot. The bearings are shot on both sides. Alright, so I have the Mustang GT 500 cover on mine, so I get to pull out the plug, which is right there, and this thing was covered with metal. And disturbingly, there was a big, long strip of metal on there. And I'm wondering if the idiots that fucking swapped out my rear end left that on there when they swapped my cover. And my guess is yes. But thing you have to remember, you and a normal one, you're just gonna have to take out all these bolts and then take out all these bolts. And don't forget your rear end type tag is gonna be right there. It's usually in this hole there. So that goes there. So you're gonna have to loosen all these bolts and then use like something like this to pry this all loose. And I see the idiots that swapped my cover didn't even use a gasket; they just used all sealer because they were cheap bastards. And that's why I don't like people working on my car. But the thing to remember is when you take this off, you have this top clip thing here. I can't see what it's holding right now, but it's a metal bar and it holds. What is it holding? Oh, the brake line. It's holding the brake line along the top of the axle, or the emergency brake line, so it doesn't move. So you don't want to forget to put that back on up there, otherwise the brake line will move. And it looks like it's bolted in with 2 holes, so don't forget to do that. And then this one also has another one right there. It also has an option right there for a temperature sensor. Temperature sensor thing, I believe, right there. So now I gotta pry off all this stuff. Looks like they put some goop on this one here. This stuff smells so good. Alright, so those fucking idiots that swapped out rear end and then swapped the cover for me, they went cheap and didn't use a gasket. And what that means is that the cover was so tight to this. In other words, tight as in close. I couldn't get a pry thing in there. I had to, I'm putting this in there. I'm trying to get that in between the cover and whatever. And I had to use a 5-pound hammer, 4-pound hammer to get between those two. All my other hammers didn't have enough strength to get between. Anyway, the point is if you're gonna do one of these, use the stupid gasket. Use the sealer and the gasket. It gives you enough room to get in there. Don't go so cheap. The gasket's only like $3. So this is the pin that has to come out. I gotta turn this. Alright, I can't turn it like this. Alright. So you're gonna have to put the car in neutral if you want to be able to move this. This is the pin that needs to come out to get these axles out, because there's a C-clip that holds them in. See the pin? That's the pin that goes all the way across. And there's the screw that's holding it. Oops, sorry, that. Where am I? Where am I? Oh, let me turn this more. That's the screw that's holding this pin in. So I need to get that screw out. And hopefully it isn't Loctite red in. That's a long screw. It goes all the way across and through the pin and holds that pin in place. So let's hopefully get that out. Alright, so that bolt, I tried an 8mm, not this wrench, but a socket, and it slipped. That was a scary situation. Also, you need to put the car back in park, and this, I believe, is a 5/16, because I was able to put a lot of force on that bolt, that screw. or let's call it a fastener, like fruitcakes. And had to put the car in park, and I was able to put a lot of force on it with no slipping, and the 5/16 cracked it loose. So that's gonna come out. And you gotta be very careful. You don't want your spider gears to fall out. Where's my finger in the way? This will show how long this bolt is. So that's how long this bolt is, because it goes through and through that pin, and this pin will just push out now, as you see there. And I think it pushes that way. Oh, now I gotta put the car back in park, back in drive. Where's my damn glove? All right, actually I just moved a little. I just went behind up and pushed it, and the pin will fall out in either direction. So let's get this to come out. Alright, now you see in there, right there is a clip. When I push on that axle over there, let's see if I can reach it. You push the axle in. So I'm going to push this axle in. And you see that? See what happened? This right there is a seat clip. This is a metal C clip that comes out. I think I should be able to push it in more. The clip comes out, and that's holding the axle, so I can push the axle back in. So I'm pushing the axle in with my foot. See that? And this C clip comes out. I don't particularly want to take this axle out yet. I'm going to take out the other one. Alright, so this is the C clip that comes out right there. Now I could push this axle. I could pull this axle out of the tube. Alright, I was wondering what this line was cut into that. Well, those idiots that did my friggin' car put the spring on wrong. See, the spring is digging into that. The spring is supposed to be turned the other way. Fucking idiots. You know, and I got a smart mouth by telling you not to put the fucking spring in upside down, because people don't understand what the fuck that means. Don't put it upside down. Upside down means you made that long line into your brake thing. That thing is supposed to be flipped the other way. Oh my god. Alright, so I gotta get that off because it won't let me pull the axle out. Alright, the idiots installed this spring on this side wrong too. This should be flipped like this. So this metal is over here, not into your thing. These axles don't look even. I'm wondering if my bearings actually are bad. These axles don't. These bearings don't feel bad. Ay, 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 ay. Let's show the correct thing. That's not how this goes. This should be flipped. See? Flipped. So the metal is to this side, not into your sensor teeth. I mean, what's so hard about that? So now I gotta flip that around because idiots worked on this car. All right. I think it's easier to get that spring up if you take this spring off. And why I don't like people working on my car. What the hell is that? Yeah, that's the spring to the seal. Why is that in my tube? I don't see anything else in there. It's so very annoying. I mean, these bearings don't feel bad. And the shafts don't look worn. Alright, so something I'm noticing. I'm putting this magnet down this tube and into all the liquids. You know, all the way down there. All the way, I don't know if you can see it. Pulling up liquid, pulling up liquid, pulling up liquid. And I pull it out. And the magnet is clean. It's just dripping with oil. Now let's show what happens when I do it on the other side. Alright. Let's just go right there. See what happens when I come out now. Alright, let's go down the tube. See how it's different? It's just completely covered. That's not oil. See how it's like, yeah, I don't know if I was showing. See how it's like bulged out? That's not what the other side did, and the other side was full of oil. This side is full of metal. I'll show you also. I'm gonna put it on the, when I wipe it off here, you'll see that the magnet pulls. See, it pulls it. So that's all metal in there. So I don't know. I guess this bearing is shot on this side. It seems fine, but there's all metal in this. I don't know how I'm gonna clean this out. But the repair bearing is self-sealed and greased, so maybe I don't even care. The repair bearing seals on the outside and it seals on the inside. So it seals grease into the bearing itself and doesn't use the lube in here. It doesn't use that to lube itself. So maybe I'll pull this bearing out. Oh man, I should pull the other side too. Maybe I'll just leave the other side. Yeah, I guess I'll just leave the other side because there's no metal coming out of the tube. That's my call. Alright. Alright. If you're gonna do this job, make sure you go rent this puller from AdvanceAuto. AdvanceAuto makes you pay for the tool, and then you return it and they give you all your money back. This tool is vital to getting that out. This was the smaller one. It goes in like this, and then when you pull it, it expands out like that and goes like that. And this literally took me 4 slams to get that out of there. 4 slams, both things right out of there. Go ahead and try something else. You're gonna sit there and beat your ass all day. That was 4 slams and came right out. Get this tool from AdvanceAuto. Rent it for free. For free. And I get to see if this bearing actually is shot. This is so much fun. Alright. Alright. So here's the repair bearing right here. This is your normal setup. This is like this, and your bearing's there. The repair bearing, shit, which way does the repair bearing? Repair bearing goes in this way. And you see that the bearing is, oh, can you even see that? You see that the bearing is offset to up front more. I guess you could see it this way better. It's moving the bearing forward on the shaft. And then you see this back seals to the shaft, so I'm going to fill this with grease. And this also has a rubber thing here. So it's going to go in. It's going to go in like that. Hopefully we can get that to go in all the way. All right, what are we going to hammer that in with? I'm going to go find a socket that equals this size. Hopefully I got one. Or I could always use the bearing. I could use the old bearing. I think this bearing is shot. But using that Polar, this seal came out in perfect shape. Nothing wrong with this seal. So I could reuse that. I'll throw that in the bag. Now let me go see if I can find a socket, because I'd rather hit a socket onto this. Probably like a 30 millimeter or something. All right, so when you put the repair bearing in, it doesn't look like it's in all the way. I hammered it. I used the old bearing to hammer it in because I didn't have a socket big enough. The 36 millimeter wasn't big enough. I need like a 40. And then I stuck my finger in to feel if it was to the lip. And it felt like it was close, so I smacked it a few more times, and I don't think it moved. And you get worried that when you shove the axle in, it's going to hit it. So what I did is I took a little, little dab, a little ball of grease, and I put it at the end of the repair bearing. And then I shoved the shaft all the way in where you're going to put the C-clip in, and then I pulled it back out to see if it touched that little dab of grease. And that little dab of grease was about that high, a little taller. And then I pulled the shaft out to see if it touched it, and it didn't touch it. So that's good. It never touched it, and so when you put that C-clip in, when you put the C-clip in and then pull the shaft is actually coming out a little farther, the axle shaft. So if it's not touching it with it all the way in to insert the C-clip, then it's not going to be touching it in your usable format, because the axle actually comes out a little more. And so anyway, I'm filming this because I'm noticing now that I have the repair bearing in, I get no more up and down noise. I get no more clicking up and down. So maybe I will replace the bearing on the other side, because that one even sounded like it was more loose. And also, while you're in here, might as well do some rust reformer. Why not? Alright, so I guess I am going to do the other side's bearing, since it's so easy. There's like 4 pulls to get it out. And I also filled it with extra grease. Alright. And the thing to note, when I'm putting the C-clip in, it was real tight. So I just took a screwdriver and tapped it in. I think in order to get it even easier, you have to take the e-brake off, because it hits on this side of the axle. But just tapping it in is fine. And here's your other spring. Make sure you get this spring in there correctly too. And just for the ha-has, I had taken this out. I'd taken the speed sensor out because I thought the axle was hitting it, and that was stopping it from getting out. As you see, the axle actually does hit it here. I don't know why it was hitting it there. So I had taken this out, but on the other side didn't have to take it out to get the axle out. When I was taking the C-clip out, it was a little tight fit, so I again took a screwdriver and just tapped it out. It was very light taps to get it to come out, so it's not going to bend or screw anything up. It was just light tapping, and it got it to come out, and then it jumps into its hole. That's going into it. So yeah, and you still get your still hear the bearings. I guess that's the bearings, but no more up and down clicking. All right. Another thing to note, after I got the bearing and the seal out, I then took this old broomstick handle, and I took a wire tie or whatever the thing is, and I clamped it on here, and then I shoved it down all the way down the tube and out, twisted around and pulled it out until all the fluid was out of there. Let's see if I could actually film getting this bearing out. So it's going to go in sideways. You're going to go in sideways like that. It goes in, and then it clips, and then you're going to slide hammer. I'm going easy so you can see it. And that is out. Let's see, that's out. Now, that took more than normal because I was trying to film it and not get it to slam out and hold everything, and I dropped everything anyway. So that's how easy it comes out with this slide tool. So get one. Don't make your own crap. Unless you got something that actually works. But you saw how long that took. This is only a 1.5-minute video so far, and that thing is out. And here's the funny part. That spring that I showed that was down the tube, when I look at the dust seal, there's no spring in it. So this spring goes to this dust seal. How they got past the bearing, because this is your bearing to the shaft. Impossible to get past the bearing. So I don't know what they did. I don't trust people touching my car. See, now it's in there. Alright, I'm just recording that. That's how far out the repair bearing is sticking. And then I put a little grease on it, so I'm going to see if that's okay. I'm going to put the axle in and see what happens. Okay, the last video I took, I don't think it was in far enough, so I actually duct taped the old bearing to it and smacked it. And I think it's in far enough now. What I was noticing, I don't think it was in far enough. I was trying to get in there and I couldn't get the C-clip in, and I noticed it was rubbery pushing it in. And I realized that the end of the shaft was pushing against the seal here. As you can see, it's all dirty and stuff because I rotated a little. So then I added a little grease to this, and I saw that it actually was hitting the seal. So I had to smack it in a little farther. I believe it's in farther now. Should be enough to get the C-clip in, hopefully. Alright, update. I should have videotaped how far I pushed the other bearing in. Alright, so that's how far I got it in. What I did is I taped the other bearing to it, then I got this piece of wood, and then I used my 5-pound maul and just smacked it. And now we're probably in far enough to do the C-clip. I'm going to have to go check the other side and make sure I got it in this far. If not, I'm going to push it in far because I don't want the steel to rub against the outer part of the shaft. Alright, so definitely that I have to go knock that other side in further. As you see, that's way sticking out of there, and when I push it in, let's see, when I when I push it in, it's not rubbery at all. So I'm gonna have to go do the other side. Let's see if the C-clip just pushes right in. Yeah, see, the C just pushes right in. Oh no, I still gotta give it a little. I still gotta hammer the C a little to get it in. I still gotta do it, give it some taps. I'm pretty sure that's straighter. So I gotta tap that in. Pretty sure it's straighter than it was before. I mean, than the other side. So I just gotta make sure the other side's in far enough because I don't want it to rub against the dust seal. Alright, so that was an awful mistake. So if you got a repair bearing, you want to make sure you get it in at least this far. I know on the other side, I have it sticking out a little bit farther. But the way I had this before, it was almost impossible to get that C-clip out. I had to do a lot of finagling and slap it with a hammer, and I finally got it to jump out. And then I came over to the side and I taped the bearing up, put this big piece of wood on there, and then slammed it with my maul 2 times, and it jumped right in there, and that's where it should be sitting at. And now when I put this shaft in, it should allow me to put the C-clip in pretty easy. Okay, so the fill plug on this replacement axle differential that they put in my car was completely fucking stripped. So they didn't even use this to fill my differential. They used my GT500 cover, which had the fills on it. So that's why I don't have people work on my car. So to get this out, I went to here and got the nipple, and there was a third one up. Put it in there, hammered it in, and got the, I think it was a 16 or 5/8 socket, and got it out. It wasn't gonna budge, but then it finally, I hammered it in, and I twist. It wasn't moving, and then it finally got a nice bite, and I put a longer ratchet on there, and I got it out. Now the question is, will this fill it? The Dorman replacement is a rubber grommet. I mean, there's no pressure in there, so will this work fine? It's not gonna have the magnet. Maybe I'll go to another store and try to find another one of these. Maybe go to, yeah, that's what I'll do. What are you doing?
Giving it to you.
What is it?
Ah! Cake!
Oh, a cake? You made me cake?
Yeah. I gotta put it in the oven.
Alright, here's the oven.
Actually, this could be pizza, and then I'll make cake.
Alright.
I'm gonna make pizza right now, and then I'll make cake. Because this is kind of like pizza.